Let's delve into the definitions of one-family, two-family, and multi-family dwellings, particularly as they relate to the definition of a building within the context of electrical codes. The key lies in understanding how structures are classified based on the number of dwelling units they contain and how firewalls influence this classification. If a structure is separated into multiple areas by firewalls, and each area contains a dwelling unit, the classification hinges on whether these areas are considered separate buildings or part of a single multi-family dwelling. In general, a multi-family dwelling refers to a building containing 3 or more dwelling units. These units typically share common areas such as hallways, stairwells, or exterior spaces. The crucial factor in determining whether a structure divided by firewalls is considered a multi-family dwelling or multiple single-family dwellings is the overall integration and management of the building. Even with firewalls, if the areas are under the same ownership or management and share essential building systems, it is more likely to be classified as a multi-family dwelling. Firewalls are a critical safety feature designed to prevent the spread of fire from one area to another within a building. They are constructed with materials that can withstand high temperatures for a specified period, providing valuable time for occupants to evacuate and for firefighters to respond. While firewalls physically separate different sections of a building, they do not necessarily create entirely separate buildings for classification purposes. Think of an apartment building where each apartment is separated by firewalls. The firewalls enhance safety, but the entire building is still considered a multi-family dwelling. Here's a breakdown of the key considerations for classifying a structure divided by firewalls. Firstly, ownership and management. If all 4 areas are owned and managed by the same entity, it suggests a unified structure rather than 4 independent dwellings. Secondly, shared building systems. If the areas share essential systems such as plumbing, electrical, or HVAC, it further supports the classification as a single building. Thirdly, access and egress. If the areas share common entrances, hallways, or exits, it indicates a multi-family dwelling rather than separate single-family homes. Fourthly, compliance with building codes. Local building codes and zoning regulations may provide specific guidance on how to classify such structures. These regulations often consider factors such as density, occupancy, and the provision of amenities. Let's consider some examples to illustrate the concepts. Imagine a row of townhouses, each separated by a firewall. If each townhouse is individually owned and has its own separate entrance, utilities, and no shared common areas, they would likely be classified as single-family dwellings, even though they are structurally connected. Now, consider a larger building where each unit is separated by firewalls, but the units share a common lobby, elevator, and are all managed by a single property management company. This would typically be classified as a multi-family dwelling. To provide a more detailed explanation, let's break down the definitions further. A one-family dwelling is a building containing only one dwelling unit. A two-family dwelling contains 2 dwelling units. A multi-family dwelling contains 3 or more dwelling units. The definition of a building, as it relates to these classifications, refers to a structure that is separated from other structures by firewalls or open space. Open space could mean a yard or even an alleyway between buildings. The presence of firewalls alone does not automatically create separate buildings. The key is whether the firewalls create functionally independent units that operate as separate homes. Now let's relate this to specific electrical code requirements. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides guidelines for electrical installations in buildings. The NEC addresses the specific requirements for single-family, two-family, and multi-family dwellings. For example, the NEC has specific requirements for service entrances, feeder calculations, and grounding and bonding in each type of dwelling. In a multi-family dwelling, the electrical service is often provided to the building as a whole, with subpoles distributing power to each individual dwelling unit. In contrast, each single-family dwelling typically has its own independent electrical service. When determining the electrical requirements for a structure divided by firewalls, it is essential to consider the overall classification of the building. If it is classified as a multi-family dwelling, The electrical installations must comply with the requirements for multifamily dwellings. If it is classified as separate single-family dwellings, the electrical installations must comply with the requirements for single-family dwellings. Furthermore, the NEC contains various articles that address specific aspects of electrical installations in dwellings. For example, Article 210 covers branch circuits, Article 220 covers feeder and service calculations, and Article 250 covers grounding and bonding. These articles provide detailed requirements for ensuring the safety and reliability of electrical systems in dwellings. Now, let's look at some practical implications of classifying a structure as a multifamily dwelling versus separate single-family dwellings. Firstly, service entrance requirements. Multifamily dwellings often require a larger service entrance to accommodate the total load of all the dwelling units. Single-family dwellings typically have smaller service entrances based on the load of a single unit. Secondly, feeder calculations. Feeder calculations for multi-family dwellings are more complex, as they must account for the diversity of loads among the different dwelling units. Feeder calculations for single-family dwellings are simpler, as they are based on the load of a single unit. Thirdly, grounding and bonding. Grounding and bonding requirements differ between multifamily and single-family dwellings. Multifamily dwellings often require a more extensive grounding and bonding system to ensure the safety of all occupants. Fourthly, metering. In multifamily dwellings, individual metering of each dwelling unit may be required, allowing residents to be billed for their actual energy consumption. In single-family dwellings, there is typically only one meter for the entire dwelling. Fifthly, common area lighting and power. Multifamily dwellings have common areas that require lighting and power, such as hallways, stairwells, and parking areas. Single-family dwellings typically do not have these common area requirements. Let's also consider the role of local building inspectors and electrical inspectors in determining the classification of a structure. These inspectors are responsible for enforcing building codes and electrical codes. They have the authority to make the final determination on how a structure is classified. When inspecting a structure divided by firewalls, inspectors will consider the factors discussed earlier, such as ownership, management, shared building systems, access, egress, and compliance with building codes. They may also request documentation such as architectural drawings, property deeds, and management agreements to help them make the determination. If there is any ambiguity in the classification of a structure, it is always best to consult with the local building inspector or electrical inspector. They can provide guidance on how to comply with the applicable codes and regulations. In summary, determining whether a structure divided by firewalls is classified as a multi-family dwelling or separate single-family dwellings depends on several factors. These factors include ownership, management, shared building systems, access, egress, and compliance with building codes. Firewalls provide crucial fire protection, but they do not automatically create separate buildings for classification purposes. When in doubt, consult with local building officials to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. Understanding these distinctions is critical for ensuring safe and compliant electrical installations in all types of dwellings. The proper classification impacts everything from service size to grounding requirements.